Today's webinar is Keeping Your Small Business Afloat Through COVID-19 and Exploring Other Options. Information about Legal Aid Society is each year Legal Aid Society provides more than 7,000 disadvantaged residents with no-cost free legal assistance, as well as a variety of community education and outreach programs. And today, one of the programs we're going to be taking a look at or hearing about is the Small Business Program. Today, we are having the pleasure of presenting with two presenters, Dr. Maria Cole and attorney at law, DaVatrice Lindsey. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Anyone who has questions may please ask the questions at the end, and I will unmute your microphone so that you can ask a question. Also, you have the chance to ask questions through the chat box, which is the function here at Zoom, so that you can ask questions during the webinar, and I can read those questions and present it to both of give the questions to our presenters as well. So thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next slide, please.
Next slide, please. This is the area of Paragon, Florida, and in today's presentation regarding small business and small business lending, we are going to talk about the specific small business lending products that have been offered through SBA, who qualifies, what your required documentation would be, the forms that are specific to those two lending programs, as well as other funding opportunities and other areas that are not necessarily funding, but with this time where we have to self-isolate, or maybe that we're not seeing clients or customers, there are other things that we can do to support and improve our business, like marketing webinars, writing a business plan webinars, and things of that nature, such as this webinar that we're doing right now, right? There's also technical assistance opportunities that I wanted to make people aware of and provide links to some of those opportunities that you could find beneficial in this time. Next. I wanted just to let everyone know that if you didn't, that Paragon, Florida is a community development financial institution, usually by the CDFI. CDFI can do a number of things. For Paragon, our mission is to support local small businesses in our South Florida region. A CDFI normally, and what we do at Paragon, is serve underserved communities. The benefit that we have, or advantage that we have over a bank, is that by our certification through Treasury, we are required to provide more assistance to our small businesses with respect to technical assistance, helping to support them, helping them to give them the guidance that they need, and advocate on behalf of them, more so hands-on than a traditional banking relationship would be. So I encourage you, if you don't know about CDFIs, I encourage you to ask, how they can benefit your small business, or what we do in the community. Next slide, please. Help is on the way. Help has been here. There's been a few hiccups with the two programs that have been part of the CARES Act with respect to small businesses, and it's sort of like building an airplane and flying it at the same time. If you know anything about, or have been watching any of the news about particularly the PPP program, they wanted to get it out quickly. So there was really really wasn't, there were really some things that needed to be addressed and fixed in order for it to really meet the needs of our local small businesses and small businesses that were, let's say, 50 employees or less, which are usually what our small businesses are. Oftentimes, you saw in the news that there were these multi-million-dollar companies that were sort of shamed into giving that money back, because there's a real need for it in our communities. And with the second release of funding, that funding was specifically targeted to CDFIs and to smaller local small businesses, to help them in the way in which the original legislation was intended. So you have the PPP program, which is the Paycheck Protection Program, which is probably what we'll talk about the most, because that's what most people are interested in. And then the EIDL program, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which is more of an emergency funding program for your small business. They're two different programs. You can apply for both. We can go through that, what the requirements are for each. Next slide, please. So with the PPP program, what it is wants to encourage you to do is keep your employees, retain your employees, and pay your employees. And with that, if 75% of that money that's borrowed is used for your payroll and payroll additions, like your health care or paid sick leave or medical leave, as long as 75% of what you borrow is for payroll benefits, payroll and benefit packages, the 100% of that loan is forgiven. So basically it's like a grant to get us through this program, but that's into June 30th of this year. Any of the expenses that are incurred through June 30th of this year. If you don't meet that requirement and you're not using it to pay 75% of it into payroll, you have a rate of 1% interest on the money that you borrow, and you can borrow up to $10 million. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, however, is for any small business of 500 or fewer employees, and you can borrow up to $2 million, and the interest rate is a little higher. The interest rate for for-profit companies is 3.75. If you are a nonprofit, you can borrow at 2.75 fixed rate, and that loan is up to 30 years. I wanted to go back to PPP for a second and also say that if you are a subcontractor or an independent contractor, 1099 type employee, independent contractor, you can apply for a PPP loan, and the person who is maybe your primary contractor would encourage you to do that so that your income is covered in this time of like indefinite self-isolation or limited working opportunities. So if you are an independent contractor, I encourage you to apply for a PPP loan as well. Next slide, please. The forgiveness provisions I spoke about. In the PPP, 100% of that loan is forgivable if 75% of that loan is spent on payroll and payroll benefits. The EIDL loan, however, is not. You can get an emergency grant of up to $10,000, but the entire loan is not forgivable. You can apply for PPP directly through an SBA lender, which would be a CDFI or a bank, but you would not go directly to the SBA for that. If you want to apply for an EIDL loan, you would go directly to the SBA to apply for that. You do not need any collateral when applying for the PPP. You do, however, need collateral. There are collateral requirements for the EIDL loan. You have to provide documentation for the PPP program, such as your payroll filings, documentation on the number of employees you have. It considers every employee you had after February 15th, and to make those, any employee you've had from February 15th onward is eligible for consideration in the PPP loan program. As far as the EIDL loan, your business has to have been operating since January 31st of 2020. And next, please. Entrepreneurs can apply for both. Like I said, the EIDL loan, you would apply directly through the SBA link. PPP, you can apply through a CDFI or a bank if you have a relationship with your bank. We encourage you to apply with the bank that you have a relationship with. Oftentimes, we don't really have that kind of relationship with banks, especially for smaller small businesses. So you can come to a CDFI to put in an application for PPP assistance. You cannot duplicate the expenses on both. If you apply, whatever you apply for in the PPP loan, you cannot duplicate those expenses and then turn around and apply for the EIDL loan. You have to keep those two things separate. The one thing with the PPP loan though too is, I don't know if you saw that in the previous outline, is that some of your overhead expenses are covered in that, and because of the lower interest rate and the forgivability of the PPP loan, whatever you can put into that PPP loan application that qualifies, we encourage you to do that and use the EIDL loan program for one-time only occurring expenses that probably wouldn't have happened to you had it not been for coronavirus. And because, like I said, because independent contractors are not considered employees, they should apply for their own PPP loan to cover their payroll expenses if they have like smaller contracts with one or a number of businesses, other businesses. And like I said, 75% of that PPP loan is used for payroll and payroll related expenses. And the same goes for nonprofits. And those nonprofits do include religious or faith-based organizations with less than 500 or fewer employees. Next, please. You will have to, if you are a 501c3 or a religious organization, you will have to show your certification for that as part of your loan packet. And the amount of money that you can get in a PPP program, the amount of money you can borrow is 250% of your average monthly payroll. Next, please. So if you've ever borrowed or if you've ever gotten an SBA loan before and you have a relationship with an SBA lender, we encourage you to go through your SBA lender. If you do not have such a relationship, we're here as a CDFI to help you and help navigate you through the process. Like I said, financial institutions that can provide you with a loan packet or any bank, CDFI or credit union that is an SBA lender. And as the regulations and as the guidance changes for these particular loans through the CARES Act, we will keep you up to date. And it's good, there's a good idea to go directly to the SBA site to see. That's the first place that they will post any changes or modifications to the guidelines that for these loans or any new loans that come down the pipe. Next, please. like I was saying, one of the ways that you can stay updated is to go to the SBA site. They have a specific tab for coronavirus that lists all of the specific resources that are that have been put in place specifically for this time of pandemic that we're in. It's a good resource to go to. We also have other links and other resources that may be available within the community. Look for, if you have Twitter. I know some people don't, some people do, but if you do, you can follow them on Twitter, and that they will release their information first before anybody else does. And you can always email us at info@paragonfl.org and get on our newsletter to get informed of SBA opportunities as well as other resources that are available in our community. Next, please. And there's our website, our email address. We have newsletters. We happy to provide resources to you that are tailored to your individual needs. So just be specific about what kind of information or guidance that you're looking for. If you're looking for technical assistance on the loan application, if you are looking for other webinars that are specific to something that that you want to address with your business, whether that's marketing or bookkeeping or small business law, we can point you in the right direction. And, with respect to the legal aspects of small business, Legal Aid Society of Palm Beach County has been a tremendous partner for us. Next, please. So if you are a resident or your business is located in the city of West Palm Beach, the city of West Palm Beach has an emergency loan program that is specific if your business is located in West Palm Beach, even if it's a home-based business. So the website is, the link to the website is right there, FloridaSBDC.org /disaster. The state of Florida had a bridge loan program that currently is closed. We're not sure if there's going to be a special session in Tallahassee where they reopen that and refund it, but they had a loan program that and the money ran out. So until they decide to fund it again or open it back up again for new applications, that loan program is currently closed, but we keep our eye out to see if they will fund it in the future. A grant program that's available is through the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. It's a grant program, and when that money runs out, that grant program may no longer be available until, again, they refund it. Sometimes it is on a first come, first served basis. So it's always a good idea to not procrastinate, get your ducks in a row and apply for whatever grant opportunities are out there as soon as possible. And the website for the U.S. Chamber's grant program is www.savesmallbusiness.com. Next, please. And like I said earlier, Paragon Florida is here to help. We provide small business training, we provide small business counseling, we provide some one-on-one counseling. We are also here to provide small business lending, and also what's most important is to connect you with resources, whether they are on the federal level, local level, on our community level. One of the things that's so important with small businesses is that we depend on each other to survive and thrive and succeed in situations just like this. And we really get to know one another. We can learn to support each other's small businesses and our community endeavors when we really drill down into community and identify who our partners are, who can support us not just now, but in the future, and we can build a successful small business community that way. Next, please. So our mailing address is 400 Hibiscus Street, Suite 200. We're located in the Arthritis Foundation building. Obviously, because we're self-isolating, we're not really seeing people at the office at the moment. We hope to see people soon, but the best way to reach us right now is through our email address, info@paragonfl.org. Like I said, because we're not in the office, the most expedient way to get answers to your questions is at info@paragonfl.org. Next, please.
Thank you. I will be covering starting a home-based business, mainly focusing on the LLC, which is limited liability company. And also, I will be going over how to register your business with the state. So due to the pandemic, people have lost wages, completely lost their jobs, and or may be in need of supplemental income. As a result, starting a home-based business may be a good way to turn that skill or hobby into income. Next, please. Excuse me. So what the Legal Aid Society of Palm Beach County can assist you with are the following steps: deciding the business structure that suits your business the best, picking a business name that is not in use, registering your business with the state, obtaining a federal employee identification number, opening company bank accounts, and obtaining business licenses and permits. I listed a couple of home-based businesses that are lucrative despite the pandemic, just to give some ideas. We have website tester, mass creator and distributor, photographer, recipe creator, translator, and designer. Next, please. As I stated, we'll focus on the business structure of the limited liability company, which is also known as LLC. A limited liability company is a hybrid type of legal structure that provides the limited liability features of a corporation and the tax efficiencies and operational flexibility of a partnership. The owners of an LLC are referred to as members. Depending on the state, the members can consist of a single individual, which is one owner, two or more individuals, corporations, or other LLCs. Unlike shareholders in a corporation, LLCs are not taxed as a separate business entity. Instead, all profits and losses are passed through the business to each member of the LLC. LLC members report profits and losses on their personal federal tax returns, just like the owners of a partnership would. Next, please. The Florida Supreme Court held that a court may order a judgment debtor to surrender all right, title, and interest in the debtor's single-member LLC to satisfy an outstanding judgment. Practitioners were thereafter advised to form limited liability companies with multiple members whenever possible. So just keep in mind that you are afforded the protections under the corporate veil for the LLC, unless you're a single-member LLC. Creditors can still pierce that corporate veil, meaning that they can still go after you to satisfy a debt. So it may be in your best interest to have more than one member. Next, please. As far as registering your LLC is concerned, I will go over the filing options, the payment options, the processing dates, fees, and the articles of organization. I will just basically focus on the mandatory fields for the articles of organization. Next, please. Okay, for the filing options, you can file online. You can also complete the PDF form online with the required payment. Then you would just print it and sign it and mail it into the Division of Corporations with the required payment. Or you can print it off, fill it out in blue or black ink, sign it, and mail it into the Division of Corporations with the required payment. Next, please. Your payment options are making all checks payable to the Florida State Department of State, excuse me. Check and money orders must be payable in U.S. currency drawn from a U.S. bank, and credit cards accepted for filing online are the MasterCard, Visa, Discover, and American Express. Next, please. So the processing dates fluctuate. I try to pull the dates as close to the presentation as possible, but just keep in mind you'll want to look at them when you do file, and most people do take the option of filing online. It seems like they fluctuate a couple of business days. So let's say you file on Thursday, you'll probably receive your registration Monday evening. Next, please. The fees that are involved are the articles of organization, which is $100, the registered agent designation, which is $25, the certified copy, which is optional and is $30, and the certificate of status, which is also optional and is $5. So if you go for all of these options, it will cost you $160, but it's only required to do the articles of organization for $100 and the registered agent designation for $25. So it's only $125 is only required. Next, please. So the mandatory fields for the articles of organization are as follows: the LLC name, principal place of business address, mailing address, registered agent name and address, registered agent signature, manager, authorized representative, effective date, signature, and correspondence name and email. Next, please. The LLC name must be distinguishable on the records of the Department of State. So what you want to do is a preliminary search by name before submitting your document, and I provide the link there. The name must also include limited liability company, LLC, or L.C. If you're filing for some other type of structure of the business, you will want to make sure you follow what the rules are, and do not use or assume the name is approved until you receive a filing acknowledgement from the Division of Corporations. Next, please. The addresses that are mandatory are the principal place of business address, mailing address, and the registered agent name and address. For the principal place of business address, it has to be the street address of the LLC's principal office. The mailing address is the LLC's mailing address if it's different from the principal place of business, and a PO box is acceptable. And for the registered agent name and address, the individual or legal entity that will accept service or process on behalf of the business entity is the registered agent. A business entity with an active Florida filing or registration may serve as a registered agent. An entity cannot serve as its own registered agent. However, an individual or principal associated with the business may serve as the registered agent. The registered agent must have a physical street address in Florida. So for the registered agent, you cannot use a PO box. Thank you. For the signatures that are required is the registered agent's signature, and then the signature for the application overall. For the registered agent's signature, the registered agent must sign the application. The signature confirms the agent is familiar with and accepts the obligations. If a business entity is designated as the agent, a principal individual of that entity must sign to accept the obligations. If you're filing online, the registered agent must type their name in the signature block. Electronic signatures have the same legal effect as original signatures. Keep in mind that typing someone's name, or which is also known as a signature if you're filing online, without their permission constitutes forgery. And then for the overall signature, it must be signed by at least one person acting as the authorized representative. So the authorized representative must type their name in the signature block. Electronic signatures have the same legal effect as original signatures. Next, please. So for the effective date, it's not necessarily mandatory, but I wanted to include it in our presentation just to make sure it's clear. Most people leave it blank because the LLC's existence begins on the date the Division of Corporation receives and files your articles, unless you specify otherwise. So if you want a different date, it has to be no more than 5 business days prior to or 90 days after the date the document is received by the Division of Corporations. Next, please. The correspondence name and email, you have to provide a valid email address. If you're filing online, the filing acknowledgement and certification, if any, will be emailed to this address. All future email communications will be sent to this address, so make sure that you keep this address up to date. Next, please. Okay, again, my name is DaVatrice Lindsey. I'm with the Community Economic Development Neighborhood Entrepreneurial Law Project with the Legal Aid Society of Palm Beach County. We are located at 423 Fern Street, Suite 200, West Palm Beach, Florida, 33401. We can be reached by telephone at 561-655-8944 and online at www.legalaidpbc.org. Next, please. Thank you so much for attending our presentation. Do you have any questions or concerns at this time?
Again, that was Dr. Maria Cole from Paragon, Florida, and DaVatrice Lindsey from Legal Aid Society of Palm Beach County. And we'll open up the questions for anyone who might be asking any questions. Yes, we've got 2 questions. Well, will I be able to get this PowerPoint presentation? Absolutely. We have a recording of this presentation, and we will be able to send it as a link to those that are interested in the PowerPoint presentation that Dr. Cole and Ms. Lindsey have just presented today. And I have a question from from Christopher Benjamin. It says, I'm present at a difficult time, but if you're not able to participate, that's okay. This recording of this webinar is going to be available for those that are interested in catching the information that both of our presenters gave today. So please stay tuned for that information as well. So Dr. Cole and Ms. Lindsey, thank you so much for your presentation today. And are there any other comments or questions that you would both like to say before we close the session out?
This is Takesha. Can I make just a plug that we have some additional webinars that are coming up? Tonight at 6 o'clock, we will have our Fair Housing Discrimination webinar, which will be presented by Inani Bestman. On Monday, May 4th, we will have a webinar on the CARES Act and the different foreclosure prevention programs that are available and how to prevent the foreclosure of your home. That'll be Monday, May 4th. That'll be taught by Melva Rozier at 6 p.m. On Tuesday, May 5th at 6 o'clock, we will have how to avoid scams. There are a lot of scam artists that are taking advantage and price gouging, taking advantage of the scare and the pandemic. And so we'll have a presentation on how to avoid being exploited and what to do once your identity's been stolen or you have been exploited. And then on Thursday, May 7th, we will have a presentation on landlord-tenant rights as it pertains to evictions and non-payment of rent. We are forecasting that after the moratorium is lifted on May 29th, that there are going to be a number of tenants in Palm Beach County that are going to be in need of some for eviction defense and help. So we're going to go over your rights, responsibilities, and the requirements for eviction and how to defend an eviction on May 7th. That's taught by Ain Lee Singh, who runs our homeless legal prevention program. All these webinars are listed on our website. For more information, you can go to www.legalaidpbc.org. And if you are in need of legal aid services, although we are closed for you to come in for client intake, we are available online through our online intake system, which is available on our website.
Thank you, Takesha. So I want to thank everyone for participating that has joined today for today's webinar on small business and how to get information. You can contact Dr. Maria Cole at again, Paragon, Florida, and DaVatrice Lindsey at Legal Aid Society of Palm Beach County. Thank you, stay safe, and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.